welcome back to Always Moving Forward, AMF. Today I have Coach Brian Adams is part of a group called Driven Elite. So I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
And kind of the reason that I wanted to bring Coach in is because in our first chapter of our book, we're talking about cognitive thinking. Cognitive thinking is basically everything that you've been taught, your parents, your friends, family, social media, churches, teachers, coaches. These are kind of everything that you've learned, your life experiences. The problem with cognitive thinking is that sometimes we're taught the wrong thinking. Somebody's passed down knowledge to you that doesn't necessarily benefit you.
Right.
So sometimes they give you some wrong information, and you start building some of your traits of personalities based on those interpretations or those thoughts that somebody's handed down to you. So anyway, what I wanted to do is bring Coach in, Coach Adams in, so that we could talk about, first of all, we want to learn about his journey. You got an amazing story, and I really want to share that. And then we want to talk about, developing these players, because not only do you have to physically, develop these players, but you got to mentally prepare them for, getting in the game. So let's start off by talking about the younger years of Coach Adams. What was that like?
Man, it was great growing up. Just having both of my parents in my life. I grew up in Macomb, Mississippi. My mom's from Macomb. My dad was born in Macomb, Mississippi. Then he moved to with my grandparents to Oakland, California.
Okay.
He lived there for like 30 years or whatever, and then he came back to Mississippi. Then my mom got married, and just two parents who were very disciplined.
Right.
I learned that very young. I had to have a lot of discipline growing up. I also had freedom, but they let me be me, because I was the only child growing up, and great family. Everybody, was respectful and
That's good.
things of that nature. So that's why I got a lot of my character type things from, because we always use the word nowadays, when it comes to people, what kind of character they have and high character and stuff like that. But so I grew up, like I said, with both my parents, and then I grew to love the game of basketball.
Right.
And every day, I would get up 6 o'clock in the morning, just working on my game and not knowing where it would go, because no one around me had ever played college basketball or anything. So I'm just working and believing in something at that time that I couldn't see,
Right. Now, when you say that you couldn't see it, at what point did you start thinking that, this is something I want to start focusing on, where you made it, like a priority? Did you play basketball in high school?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And then from there you went into college?
Yeah, college and professional.
So at what point did you decide, hey, this is something I want to start focusing on?
So like, I used to, watch all the NBA players and college players on TV that I couldn't touch. So one day, my cousin took me to New Orleans to the Superdome, and the game was LSU versus Georgetown.
Okay.
And at that time, Chris Jackson, whose now name is Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf,
Okay.
and Vernell Singleton was playing for LSU. And I'm looking at the game program, and I see two players from Mississippi on the roster. And I'm thinking, like, at that time, like, dang, man, two guys from Mississippi playing big-time college basketball. I didn't even know that was possible, because I'm so used to seeing other people that wasn't where I was from, and I couldn't touch them, and things of that nature. So after that game, I went back home in my front yard, like, okay, I just saw two players from Mississippi on that roster. Now it's starting to click, that, hey, I can do this too. So I just, got that mindset, just like, okay, I don't know those guys, but if I keep working and believing in myself, that might happen.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So then you went so you started in high school.
Yeah.
And then
But that was the younger years. That was in elementary.
Okay.
And then you go, I went to junior high, I went to a school called North Pike Middle School.
Okay.
And, you know, at the time, like, you know, like I said, both my parents was in my life, but, you know, I was starting to drift off academically.
Right.
You know, so I knew how to play basketball, but I didn't know how to put school and basketball together.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm starting to struggle in school and things of that nature. So now at this point, I have to transfer to another school like an hour and a half away from my hometown.
Oh, wow.
Right, called the Piney Woods Country Life School, where I lived on campus like a college student. It was very disciplined, very strict.
Right.
We had to go to school from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Wow.
Classes were 2 hours.
Right.
Had to have a C average every week, or you had no activities.
Oh, wow.
You know, so once I went to school there and learned how to put academics and basketball together, now I'm unstoppable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now I go from here to like, now I'm going here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just a transformation of my early childhood and discipline and learning how to take school serious.
So let me ask you, how did you start disciplining yourself? You know, like when you were at the other school,
Yeah.
You were having a hard time balancing school and
Yeah.
basketball. You went to this program,
Yeah.
Piney
Woods Country Life School. Yeah.
So you go there, and how did you prepare yourself mentally to start disciplining yourself to be able to balance the two?
Well, Matt, this is funny. We just talked about this story the other day. So at Piney Woods, if you fail a test, right, they put you on academic probation. Like if you don't have the C average for the week, you go on academic probation. So my high school teammate's mom was the biology teacher. This is my freshman year in high school.
Right.
So I failed the biology test and I was on academic probation for the week.
Right.
So when you get to the cafeteria, they call your name out in front of the whole school.
Oh, wow.
So my name was always first, no matter what school I went to. Brian Adams, his name's first.
Right.
So the guy, Mr. Gentry, gets on the microphone. This week, academic probation, Brian Adams. Whole school started laughing.
Wow.
Everybody, you know, just started laughing, making fun of me, you know. And then I realized then, hey man, I don't want this embarrassment anymore.
Right.
So, you know, I just buckled down on my lesson, because I knew then I'm at a school where, okay, they want my athletic talents too, but they're not playing any games when it comes to academics.
Right.
So if I want to go to another level, I got to take it serious, because they're not going to give me any grades. They're not going to do none of that. you
Right.
know? Yeah. So that's when I started to, you know, realize that self-discipline that I need. Okay, if I want to play basketball, I know these people not playing with me when it comes to going to class and all this kind of stuff.
Now, do you think that was I'd say a benefit, but a motivational factor to push you going into college, playing basketball?
Yeah, for sure. Because the continued discipline that I got from home, and the strict discipline from Piney Woods, and living on campus as a high school student, when I got to college, it was a cakewalk. You know what I'm saying? Because I was already prepared for college. You know, academically, athletically, physically, mentally. You know, I was ready to, you know, even go to another level.
Right. Now let's talk about your college years. In college, you started to excel in baskesball.
Right.
So kind of walk us through that process of getting to college, how different it was from high school.
Yeah.
You know, because now you're playing with people who's talented from other
Exactly.
you know what I mean?
You're right.
So you know, in high school, what people don't realize, in high school, you know, you're playing against just, you know, regular, you know, some average people, some people who have no talent, some people have talent, but then you get to college, on the college level, now all the people like you in your school are all getting together, and then you're playing with people who've got some, you know, some real talent.
Yeah, you know, coming out of high school, I was one of the top 20 players in the country, and you know, when I was being recruited, you know, I felt like some places really wanted me.
Right.
Well, not places. Some coaches really wanted me.
Right.
And then some was like, you know, fluff. So Alcorn State coach, Sam Weaver, he's the guy that recruited me. He never thought that he couldn't get me. You know what I'm saying? So when I would go to different camps in high school, there would be like LSU in the stands, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Georgetown, and amongst the Giants, you had little Alcorn State coach right there.
Right.
You know, everywhere I go, he followed me. And I'm like, man, this dude, everywhere I go, you know, so it's like, it was genuine. And I signed with Alcorn State because of him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I built that relationship with him.
Right.
And one of the wildest things, though, when I signed with Alcorn State, he resigned and left and went to Iowa State. So back then, at that time, there was no transfer portal. So I was stuck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I say, I went to Alcorn because of the coach. You know,
Right.
because I really didn't know about the school. And so now, going into college, they changed coaches.
Right.
So now, here's a coach coming in. I don't know him. He
Right.
don't know me. So now we got to figure out how we can make this work because, like I said, there's no transfer portal. So I got to stay here because I made a promise that I was going to go to school here.
Right.
Now I got to figure this out. You know what I'm saying? So it was like the clash of sometimes it was like the clash of the Titans between Coach and I. You know, he was a Hall of Famer, NCAA Hall of Famer. And, you know, I had to play his style.
Right.
You know, you either play that style or you leave.
Right.
And I stuck it out, right, wrong, and indifferent. You know, I helped the program get back on track.
Right.
We started back winning, went to the NCAA tournament, things of that nature. I was a freshman of the year, my freshman year. All rookie team, first team all conference, preseason all conference and stuff like that. So, you know, it was an adjustment. Like you said earlier, you know, everybody is great in high school.
Right.
Then when you get to that other level, you have to figure out ways to keep expanding your game.
Right.
And also find success within the structure of the team.
Right.
You know.
So, you know, this is something that we've talked about before on our show, is being able to adapt to change.
Right.
You know, it's extremely important that you learn to adapt to change.
Right.
Because, you know, you go to this school. First of all, you had all these major big league schools sitting in the stands watching you. You know what I mean? You decided to go with Alcorn, and it's a small school.
Right.
You know, and then how long were you at Alcorn before the coach left?
The coach that signed me?
Yeah.
He resigned in April.
Okay.
I didn't graduate high school
so
until
you didn't
May.
get to play. You didn't really get to play for him.
Never got a chance to play for the coach that recruited me, and you know, and now, like I say, you know, you see this transfer portal. Even though I'm in the Hall of Fame at my university, I still would have loved to play for the coach that recruited me. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know this guy. Right. He was a Hall of Famer. Like, you know, that I wasn't. You know, that didn't. Just because he was a Hall of Famer, that don't move me. Right. You know what I'm saying? I have to look out for what's best for my family and my career. Right. But, you know, back then, I've never not played basketball, right? Right. So if I transfer, that means I got to sit out a whole year. Right. So I'm like, okay, I made this decision. I got to live with it. Right. You know, we'll just see what happens.
And that's the thing, too, about the adjustment that you made, which is, you know, I have to give my hat, you know, tip my hat to you for, is that here you have a coach of a small school. Yeah. You know what I mean? You get in there, and then the coach leaves.
Oh, man.
Before you get to play for him.
Before I get
you get a new coach that you have no idea.
Never met.
You know what I mean? And then, like you said, you know, there was no transfer portal as there is now. So you're stuck at that school. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So now you have a decision. You know? Yeah. You have a decision. Am I gonna, you know, do what I need to, discipline myself, and, you know, work with this coach, or, you know? Right. I mean, what's your alternative on that? You know?
Right. It was several times. You know, so many people were trying to get me to leave. Right. I was this close to leaving and going to Ole Miss. Like, one of my friends that I went to high school with, he was about to come pick me up in the middle of the night and say, hey, man, we gone. No. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I was like, you know, I don't know what would have happened. I tell people all the time, you know, I don't know. I look at now instead of what woulda, coulda, shoulda. Right. I don't know what would have happened if I would have went elsewhere. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I know at Alcorn State I was well taken care of, regardless of how coach was acting or or
Right.
whatever. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Made sure I got my degree. You know, and like I said, I was well taken care of.
Right.
For sure.
Well, in that decision too, you end up becoming a Hall of Famer at that school.
Right.
So, you know, when after you started learning how to play with that coach, you know, you guys got on the same page.
Right.
What was it like once that happened?
You know, it had some great moments, and then you had, you know, one thing about basketball, you got peaks and valleys.
Right.
You know, you try not to get so high, try not to get so low. You try to stay even keel. You know.
Right.
Yeah, it was peaks and valleys because he wanted things done his way.
Right.
And there was guys that was already on the roster that was used to doing things the other coach way. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
they had so much freedom.
Right.
They wasn't winning. So we come in, we don't have that freedom, but then we start winning.
Right.
You know, so now you got to sacrifice your game, possibly part of your career,
Right.
for the betterment of the team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like I say, I use my experiences now
Right.
to educate the generation that's behind me
Right.
and the kids that I have now that I train, talk to every single day. You know, so that's my thing. You know, that's one of the greatest things that I learned from that. You know,
Right.
just to, you know, treat people, you know, how you want to be treated, and then, you know, talk to them, give back the best way you can.
Right. Okay, so with the new generation, you know, we didn't have participation trophies. You know,
Right.
We didn't have you know, everybody came in equal. You know.
Right.
So either you came in first place, you know, that was it. Nobody remembered the second place team.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So how do you mentally help these kids prepare for the game?
You know, first, like I said, you know, I need to know, do you love basketball?
Right.
Before we even get started with anything. Because if you just like the game,
Right.
this is not gonna work. Not working with me. You know what I'm saying? Because I need to
Right.
know, do you really love basketball, and does it dominate your conversation?
Right.
That's when you really know that somebody is in tune, they love it, and they're mentally like, okay, this is it, this is what I want to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because even now, you know, a lot of people say, man, when I talk to him, like if he ain't talking about basketball, like he don't even really, you know, have no conversation for you. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it has to consume you. It has to dominate your conversation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the first part. Mentally, you gotta figure out, okay, what it is I need to work on
Right.
to get better. What are my weaknesses? How can I do this? How can I do that to make certain adjustments? You know, when I'm out there on the court, you know, mentally, am I a student of the game?
Right.
Do I just play basketball and not watch any of the people that came 5, 10, 15, 20 years before me?
Right.
What type of basketball player am I?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's also the part of it that that mental. You just can't
Right.
play basketball. You have
Right.
to study the game
Right.
as well. You know.
So part of the reason that's important that they love basketball and they study the game is, do you feel like that they're more open to listening to you coach them and teach them things that they don't know? Does
Right.
that help?
Yeah, because you know that they want to have better understanding
Right.
and knowledge of the talent that they have and then what they're trying to do. So
Right.
for sure, you know, that's a great tool to have, you
Right.
know, when it comes to playing basketball.
So, and you said too that it makes them, you know, it's easier to coach them on the court as well as
Right.
if they're coachable off the court as well.
Exactly. You know, being coachable in life and being coachable on the court, that's a
Right.
great tool. That's a great asset to have. And then that makes people want to be around you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you may run into, I've never had this issue, but sometimes you may train a kid and they just, you know, the word I want to use is just, you know, seems aloof, you know, a lot. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And it makes it an uncomfortable situation. Like, you know, You don't know if they want to be around you just because the parents say be around you, or
Right.
you may not want to be around. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
they have this diva-like, attitude, mentality.
Yeah.
So I just thank God that I never really just had to deal with, situations like that.
Right.
So sometimes the parents may be more diva-like, what I'm saying, than the
Right.
kids,
Yeah.
So yeah.
My son played basketball for Louisville.
Yeah. Okay.
And I noticed too that some of the kids there already thought they were LeBron James.
Oh,
You know what I mean? They would come in, and they were coming with that attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the coaches wouldn't discipline them for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you could tell when they get frustrated on the court, and off the court, or actually when they're going back, to the bench, and they're throwing things around, and you know what I mean? Yeah, and then you hear the parents, just encouraging them for that
Yeah.
behavior. So, I mean, have you ever ran into anything like that, or?
Coaching AAU, like, you run into some strange stuff.
Right.
From time to time.
Right.
And I always go back to, we always talk about our generation and stuff like that till it's like redundant.
Right.
And I always talk about my parents and how they acted, when I was playing basketball.
Right.
Here I am, one of the best players in the country, right?
Right.
You couldn't even tell that my parents were at a game.
Mm.
They come to the game, they cheer for me. They
Right.
cheer for other kids probably just as hard as they cheer for me. They want someone else's child to be successful just like their own child.
Right. Right.
So now in this, and it's our generation that's the parents now.
Yeah.
So, so I've seen games where it's all about the parent. It ain't about the kid.
Right.
It's about how the parent can act at the games, say negative things towards somebody else's child.
Right.
Say negative things
Right.
towards the coach.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. My thing is, if you want to coach that bad,
Right.
get your own team.
Right.
And then you'll see how it is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that's what, like sometimes it's just weird. Some
Yeah.
things you see is like, wow, I can't believe somebody just said that.
Right.
So, even with that, I just remove myself from that whole situation. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, I'm great about removing myself from situations.
That's good. That's good.
So, I mean, if I'm not like in control,
Right.
I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So if you have someone right now who's thinking about, going into playing basketball and want to really, make a career out of it,
Yeah.
starting young, what advice would you give them?
The best advice that I can give a young basketball player right now is believe in yourself, have confidence,
Right.
not arrogance. There's a difference between, having confidence
Right.
and being arrogant, and master the basics, fundamentals.
Right.
If you can master fundamentals
Right.
and the basics of the game, like you'll play for a long time, barring injury.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The passing, shooting, dribbling,
Right.
learning how to play defense, mastering the small things.
Right.
It's sort of like math,
Right.
right? You have adding, subtracting, division, multiplication. Then after that, you have your geometry, trigonometry, and things like. So in math, which I wasn't great at,
Right.
when you miss steps,
Yeah.
you in trouble.
Right.
Yeah, you just can't go from not mastering the small things to the best player ever. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's not gonna happen.
So let me ask you this. So that's the physical part. How do you prepare mentally as a young person?
Mentally, I would say as a young person, like you say, that confidence part and believing in yourself. You don't have confidence and you don't believe in yourself,
Right.
then you'll tend to go off track. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of kids now, they match themselves on what somebody else is doing.
Right.
You just gotta focus and stay locked in on yourself
Right.
and figure out your own path,
Right.
your own journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My journey probably, it was a lot different than other people's journey.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Some guys went farther, you know, played in the NBA, things of that nature.
Right.
But then you have some guys that did that. They not, you know, they want to be training, they want to be around kids and working kids out, things of that nature, you know. So like I say, everybody's path and journey, it goes different, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm. So how important is it to have a mentor at that stage?
I think when you young, it should be your parents.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes you may have a coach that can sit down and talk to you, but I think when you get to, when your game take off, maybe in that high school stages, I think then you should have a mentor to
Right.
lock in with, you know what I'm saying, that could talk to you and, you know, when things are going great.
Right.
And then when things are not going so great,
Right.
you know, I think, you know, that's what I think is important to probably have a mentor once you hit that high school level, and then your games start to take off.
Right.
You know, but when you're in elementary and middle school,
Yeah,
and the only mentors you should have is your
Is your
parents.
parents,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
You know, so, but that's just my opinion. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking too, when you're talking about discipline and going to Piney Hills, Piney Woods.
Yeah.
When you went to Piney Woods, that part of what helped you was having that accountability.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because it wasn't, you know, now it wasn't just about you.
Right.
You know what I mean, you had a program that held you accountable for your grades,
Right.
or you couldn't play basketball.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And no activities either.
right. And so how do you think that affected you going forward, is maintaining that accountability?
Oh, I mean, it makes you think about what decisions you're trying to make. You know,
Right.
you want to make good choices, or you want to make bad choices.
Right.
You know, so being held accountable, that's part of life. You
Right.
know, because if you're accountable, you're holding yourself accountable.
Right.
Then you're gonna hold the people that you love around you accountable.
Right.
You know, or you could be someone that just don't care. You
Right.
know, but
Right.
that's not me. You know, so I hold myself accountable, and you know, people that I have, you know, the small circle that I have around me, you know, I tend to, you know, hold them accountable as well.
All right. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was you know,
Man,
that's great. That's a lot of information.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
man. Oh, yeah.
And I appreciate you being on the show.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, you know, this is you know, the first chapter of our book is cognitive thinking, and just learning how to discipline and, you know, be in the right mind frame. It's
Yeah.
important to be in the right mind frame.
Right.
Because you can't advance in anything you're trying to do.
Nah.
You know.
If the mind not right,
Right.
the body won't be right either.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just correcting some things that you
Right.
know, that you were taught wrong.
Right.
You know, and be able to be open to listening to the advice of somebody who,
Right.
you know, who's been there, you
Done
know,
that.
and you know, that cares enough to be able to share that wisdom with you,
Right.
and help you get to the next step. So,
And one thing about it, man, I was working on. Hopefully, one day I'll be able to tell my story like in a documentary or a book. But that part from high school to college, I've never really just had chance to tell my story.
Right.
And just talk about just the changes I went through. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
As far as I'm going to a school I really don't know much about, but I signed with the school because of the coach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't play for him, and then I play for somebody that don't care. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Or didn't, you know? And it was just, you know, that
Yeah.
makes your journey, that makes the path a little different. You know,
Right.
the path probably was headed, boom, right there. Then
Right.
now it's, you know, I don't know. Let's see if both of these guys can work together and figure it out. You know, I'm a teenager, 20 years old. He's almost a grandparent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, man. Hopefully one day I'll get a chance to tell that part of my story.
all right, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
I'd like to hear that too.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
You know, we appreciate all the advice you brought to, you know, to the show when helping, you know, these kids out. I mean,
Right.
coming in. So, I mean,
Right.
what you do is important.
I appreciate it.
especially for this generation. They need that structure, and they need, like somebody who holds them accountable, and
Right.
it helps them develop both mentally and physically. So thank you for being on the show.
Gotcha.
And then so what's your plans from here with Driven Elite? What are you guys hoping to accomplish?
Man, help as many kids as possible.
Okay.
Keep doing, the great things that we're doing, along with myself and Donald Driver, Green Bay Packers Hall of Famer. He was just inducted into the Black College Hall of Fame.
Well.
We went to Alcorn State together. Make a great team, and I just think that we just have to continue to do what we do. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in our own lane, and we can't be so concerned about what somebody else doing.
Right.
Just continue greatness and beyond, and I think everything will be okay.
So if somebody wanted to learn more about the Driven Elite program,
Yeah.
how would they do that?
You can go to drivenelite.net to learn more about the Driven Elite, and then you can follow me on Instagram, Driven Elite Basketball Academy.
Cool.
And you'll see, some of the work that I do, and some of the kids that we have in the program, like a lot of elite level basketball players from middle school, high school, college, and then I got professional players as well.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right,
man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll see you in the next show. And until then, remember that you were designed with a purpose, and always keep moving forward.